I was just on my friend Niall Breslin's podcast, Brezzy. He goes by professionally Brezzy. He's got a podcast called Where Is My Mind? And he's, if you don't know him, he's this very tall, handsome, successful, smart Irishman who's here in Los Angeles for the next month doing some stuff. And so I popped over to this place that he's staying at and did his podcast. And we talked about mindfulness in sociopolitical discourse. And he was asking me about like why is Twitter so problematic, and like is Twitter going to be the harbinger of the downfall of modern civilization and all this stuff. And we were talking about how it's really, really hard to get nuance in any kind of discussion point being made on the internet in general, on any of the major platforms, except for maybe YouTube. But like on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, it's very hard to get nuance. On TikTok, I feel like I can flesh out an idea a little bit better in 2 to 3 minutes. I make long TikToks. A lot of people who just are interested in going viral, their TikToks are like 6 to 15 seconds, and that works for them. And that's not time enough to make a good point about something, but it is time enough to like get a joke off and have a video that people can watch over and over again that's very shareable, that people can put on their Instagram stories really easily. But when I'm trying to talk about something that is happening in the socio-political discourse, that's happening in the zeitgeist, something that I want to have a hot take on, I'm going to need at least 2 to 3 minutes. Sometimes I need to do a 2-parter of like 2.5 minute long or 2 3-minute long videos amounting to 6 total minutes, if you can believe it. And of course, even in 2 to 3 minutes long or 5 minutes or 6 minutes of time in a video, I'm only going to be able to barely scratch the surface of all of the topics I could cover under the umbrella of that topic. There's something that in video content creation, there's something that I talk about all the time that I have to avoid called tempting tangential territory. And this is just like when you're talking about a thing and you use a certain phrase and you have the thought, oh, that phrase could be misinterpreted to mean something else. I better take a little beat here to say, and when I use that phrase, I mean specifically this thing, not this thing. And I'm using it in a way to talk about this connotative contextualization of the phrase, not this connotative contextualization of the phrase. But once you do that, you've already used up like 30 seconds of valuable real estate in a 2 to 3 minute long video. Like you're trying to hold people's attention on an app meant for next thing, next thing, next thing. And you've got to be economical with your time. And if you get lost in the weeds on tempting tangential territory, you'll lose the thread of your point. So in a single TikTok video, it usually is just wise from just a standpoint of wanting to get clarity in your point to try to stick as much as possible to the primary topic of the video. So if there's one point I'm trying to make or one primary point I'm trying to make, I have to sort of avoid all of the tangential territory. But in doing that, invariably and unavoidably, there are always people in the comments of that video saying, well, what about this? Or how come you didn't talk about this? Or you forgot about this? And it's not that I forgot about those things, or it's not that I wasn't aware of those things. I might even say something in the video to the effect of like, there's so much more to be said on this topic when it comes to this, but right now I'm just focusing on this. I might even say that. And in that phrase right there, there's so much more to be said when it comes to this. That encapsulates all the extra stuff that people watch and they go, how come you didn't say this? It's like, well, I didn't not say it. I acknowledge that that also exists, but that's a whole other topic for a whole other video. And one of the reasons I like doing the podcast is because I get the chance to flesh things out a little bit more. Going back to what I was talking about with Brezzy is like, it's really, really hard in 2 to 3 minutes on TikTok to flesh out anything other than whatever the primary point of that video is. So there's going to be all this extra stuff that goes into that topic that won't make it into the video. And people are going to think that somehow that invalidates the points that were made in that video, or makes that video incorrect somehow. And it's even worse on Twitter. On Twitter, everything's gotten boiled down even more to the point where like there's just no room in a single tweet for any nuance with any take. So you have to boil down your take to just the rawest form. And that's why things get so sloganized and things just become kind of like dunking and insults. And Twitter's more about like, how quippy and clever can you be? How witty can you be with your retort on someone? It's really a place that is devoid of nuance. And if you want to try to inject any kind of nuance into the point that you're making or the thing that you're trying to say, you have to write a thread. And even with a thread, you have to be careful because people will only abide threads that are like 6, 7, 8 max tweets long. Like any longer than that, if you're 9, 10, 11, 12 tweets deep in a thread, most people will have abandoned it by then. Most people will have said, this is too long. I'm not going to read all of this. TLDR, homie. Sayonara.
We the people pleasers, a fancy way of being alive. Trying to do and say the things that make us